The fist came so fast Jamal barely saw it. His head snapped sideways, skull cracking against brick, and the world exploded into white stars. Blood filled his mouth, warm, metallic. Wrong. "Move, street rat!" Tyler's voice cut through the ringing in his ears. Another kick slammed into his ribs. Bone screamed against bone. But Jamal didn't move. Couldn't move. Behind him, he felt Emma's tiny fingers clutching his torn shirt, her 7-year-old body trembling like a trapped bird.
"Please," she sobbed. "Please stop hurting him."
Tyler grabs Jamal's hair, yanking his head back until their eyes met. "You really want to die for some biker's brat?" Jamal tasted copper and dust and his own fear. His vision blurred, his legs shook, but his voice came out steady, quiet, absolute. "You want her? You go through me." Before we dive into what happens next, into the moment that would change everything, hit that subscribe button right now. This story will shake your heart in ways you won't expect. And comment below with the city you're watching from so I can see how far this story travels. Trust me, you need to stay until the end for this one. Because what Jamal didn't know was that his next decision would put him in the crosshairs of forces far more dangerous than 2 teenage bullies. Tyler's boot caught Jamal square in the stomach. Air exploded from his lungs. He doubled over, hands hitting concrete. Gravel bit into his palms. His vision tunneled. Get up, get up, get up. The thought pounded through his skull, but his body wouldn't listen. Every nerve screamed. Every muscle begged him to stay down. "Look at this," Brett laughed somewhere above him. "Kid thinks he's Superman." Jamal forced his eyes open. The alley swam. Graffiti-stained brick, overflowing dumpsters, scattered pink crayons from Emma's torn backpack. A teddy bear lying face down in the dirt. "I said move!" Tyler's voice again, closer, dangerous. Jamal planted one palm on the ground, then the other. His arms shook, but he pushed, inch by inch. His knees found purchase, his back straightened. Behind him, Emma made a small sound, not quite a word, more like hope trying not to die. "You gotta be kidding me," Brett muttered. Jamal dragged himself upright. His legs nearly buckled, but he locked his knees and spread his arms wide. 20 years old, maybe 90 pounds, standing between 2 17-year-old predators and a terrified little girl. "I'm not moving." His voice cracked halfway through, but the words landed. Tyler stepped forward. Tall, already over 6 feet, gym muscles, dead eyes. "You know who her daddy is? You know what happens to people who mess with Kodiak's family?" Jamal had heard the name. Everyone in Chicago had. Kodiak. Hell's Angels. Men who made problems disappear. "Don't care," Jamal said. "You should." Tyler grabbed Jamal's collar, bunching the thin fabric. Up close, he smelled like cheap cologne and cigarettes. "You really should." He slammed Jamal against the wall. Once. Twice. 3 times. Jamal's head bounced off brick. The world tilted. Colors bled. Emma was screaming. "Stop it! Stop! You're killing him!" Tyler's face swam in Jamal's vision. "Last chance, hero. Walk away, or we put you in the ground." Jamal tried to answer, but his tongue felt too thick. His mouth wouldn't form words. So he did the only thing he could. He shook his head. Tyler's expression didn't change. No anger, no satisfaction. Just cold calculation. "Your funeral." The first punch caught Jamal in the jaw. His teeth clacked together. Copper flooded his mouth. He'd bitten his tongue. The second punch drove into his ribs where the last kick had landed. Something inside shifted, grinding. Tyler dropped him. Jamal's knees hit concrete. He pitched forward, catching himself on his hands. Blood dripped from his split lip, spattering the ground. "Stay down this time," Brett said, circling closer. "Ain't nobody gonna save you. You're just making it worse." Jamal's arms trembled. His vision swam. Every breath felt like swallowing glass. He thought about his mom, dead almost a year now, taken by pneumonia and poverty and a system that didn't care. He thought about the last thing she'd said in that too-bright hospital room. "Be good, baby. Be the kind of good that matters." He didn't know what she meant then. Maybe he still didn't. But he knew what she didn't mean. She didn't mean lie down when someone small needed you to stand up. Jamal pushed himself to his knees, then slowly to his feet. "Oh, come on!" Brett threw his hands up. "What's wrong with you? You got a death wish?" Tyler's face darkened. "I'm gonna ask you one more time. You know who you're messing with here?" Jamal swayed, barely standing. His right eye was swelling shut. Blood ran from his nose in twin streams. But he set his jaw and met Tyler's gaze. "I know she's 7. I know she's crying. That's all I need to know." For just a second, something flickered across Tyler's face. Not regret. Recognition. Like he was seeing Jamal, really seeing him for the first time. Then it was gone. "Fine. You want to be a hero? Let's see how long you last." Tyler moved in fast, fists up. Jamal knew he was going to die in this alley. His body couldn't take much more. One more good hit, and he'd go down and wouldn't get back up. But Emma was still behind him, still depending on him, still believing this skinny homeless kid could keep her safe. So when Tyler swung, Jamal didn't try to dodge. He just closed his eyes and braced. The blow never came. A voice cut through the alley like a blade through water. "Touch him again, and you'll pray I let you die quick." Jamal's eyes snapped open. Tyler had frozen mid-swing, fist still cocked, head turned toward the mouth of the alley. Brett had gone pale, all color draining like someone pulled a plug. At the entrance, silhouetted against afternoon light, stood a man. Big, broad-shouldered, wrapped in leather and denim, ink crawling up both arms, beard like a Viking. Behind him, engines rumbled, low and deep, and somehow alive. "Emma?" The man's voice was rough, scraped raw by years of whiskey and exhaust. But underneath the roughness, Jamal heard something else. Terror dressed up as rage. "Baby girl, you okay?" "Daddy!" Anna's voice broke. She released Jamal's shirt and ran, stumbling over her own feet. The man, Kodiak, caught her and swept her up, holding her like she might evaporate. I got you, baby. You're safe now." Then his eyes lifted, fixed on Tyler and Brett. The temperature in the alley dropped 20 degrees. "Which one of you put hands on my daughter?" Neither boy answered. Brett had started backing away, slow and careful, like he could melt into shadows. Tyler stood frozen between fight and flight. Kodiak set Emma down gently, crouching to her level. "Look at me, honey. Look at Daddy." He waited until her tear-streaked face turned to his. "Were these the boys?" Emma nodded, hiccuping. "They pushed me and grabbed my bag and said bad things about you, and I tried to run, but they wouldn't let me." "Shh, it's okay. You're okay." Kodiak brushed tears from her cheeks with surprising gentleness. Then his hand moved to her shoulder, his gaze traveling down. "You hurt anywhere?" "My wrist hurts, and my knee. But Daddy, She twisted around, pointing at Jamal. "He stopped them.
He got in the way, and they kept hitting him, but he wouldn't move.
Kodiak's eyes shifted to Jamal.
Really looked at him. Took in the blood, the swelling, the way Jamal swayed like a tree about to fall.
That right? You stand between my daughter and these two. Jamal didn't trust his voice. He just nodded. Why? The question caught Jamal off guard. Why? Because it was right? Because Emma was small and scared and no one else was coming? Because he remembered being small and scared and wishing someone had stood up for him? She needed help. It seemed too simple. But it was truth. Kodiak stared at him for a long moment. Then he straightened, turning back to Tyler and Brett. Names. Now. Brett cracked first. Look, man, we didn't know names. Brett Lawson, and that's Tyler Chen. We go to Lincoln High. We're both 17. We're sorry. We're so sorry. We didn't know she was your kid. But you knew she was somebody's kid. Kodiak's voice dropped lower, quieter, somehow more terrifying. You knew she was 7 years old and scared, and you decided that was funny. We were just messing around. Messing around. Kodiak repeated the words like they tasted foul. My daughter's crying. This boy's bleeding on the ground. And you were just messing around. Behind him, more bikers had appeared. 6, 8. Jamal stopped counting. They stood in a loose semicircle, blocking any escape. Silent. Watching. Tyler finally found his voice. What are you going to do to us? Kodiak tilted his head. That's a good question. What do you think I should do to two punks who terrorize little girls? We'll leave. We'll leave and never come back, and you'll never see us again, I swear. Oh, you're leaving. But not yet. Kodiak glanced over his shoulder. Maverick, Hammer, you know what to do. Two bikers stepped forward. One was huge, 6'5", 300 pounds of muscle. The other was leaner, quicker, with cold eyes and a scar bisecting one eyebrow. Wait! Brett's voice climbed to a near shriek. Wait, please, we didn't mean... You're not dying today, but you're gonna wish you were. Take them to the clubhouse, and if they run... He paused, a thin smile ghosting across his face. Not a nice smile. Don't let them run. Maverick grabbed Brett by the collar. Hammer took Tyler. The two boys struggled briefly, but compared to the bikers, they looked like children. Within seconds, they were being hauled toward waiting motorcycles, protests fading as they were swallowed by the group. What Jamal didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that his answer to Kodiak's next question would set everything in motion. Because in the shadows at the end of the alley, someone was recording. Someone was watching. And by tonight, the video of a 12-year-old homeless kid standing against two teenagers would be everywhere. The South Side was about to learn Jamal's name, and not everyone would be happy about it. Jamal watched through his one good eye, brain struggling to process. This was real. Actually happening. He'd heard stories about Hell's Angels his whole life. Mostly the stories ended with someone disappearing. He should run, should turn and bolt while he still could. But Emma was still here, and Kodiak was turning back to him now, eyes unreadable. What's your name, kid? Jamal. Jamal what? Just Jamal. He didn't have a last name, not really. His mom's name had been Williams, but she'd never married his father, never put him on the birth certificate. When she died, Jamal became just Jamal, a ghost in the system, easy to overlook, easier to forget. Kodiak's expression shifted. Not pity, understanding. How old are you? 12. One of the remaining bikers swore softly. 12 and took on two teenagers. Damn. Kodiak ignored him. Where are your parents, Jamal?
Don't have any.
Foster care?
Not anymore.
The lie came easily. Truth was, he'd never been in foster care. When his mom died, he just slipped through cracks.
Easier than explaining. Kodiak studied him. How long you been on the street?
A while? That's not an answer. Jamal shifted his weight. Fresh pain lanced through his ribs. Since my mom died. 10 months, maybe? 10 months. Kodiak shook his head slowly. Christ. You've been making it on your own for 10 months? Jamal didn't answer. Didn't need to. Emma tugged on her father's sleeve.
Daddy, he's hurt. He needs a doctor.
I'm okay, Jamal said automatically. Doctors meant questions. Questions meant social workers. Social workers meant group homes. Or worse. I'm fine. Kid, you got blood coming out of places blood shouldn't come out of. This from another biker, older, gray threading through his dark beard. You ain't fine. I said I'm fine. Jamal took a step back, then another. His vision swam. The alley tilted. I should go. Where? Kodiak asked. The question was gentle but landed like a hammer. Where are you gonna go, Jamal? I got a place.
Yeah? Where's that?
Jamal's throat closed up. Because he didn't have a place. He had a rotation of spots, doorways, fire escapes, unlocked cars, but those weren't places. Those were just spaces where he tried not to freeze. Thought so. Kodiak exchanged glances with the gray-bearded biker. Some unspoken communication passed between them. Here's what's gonna happen. Doc here is gonna look you over, make sure nothing's broken that's gonna kill you. Then we're gonna have a conversation about what comes next. I don't need... Not a request, kid. Jamal's legs chose that moment to give out. 1 second he was standing, the next he was on his knees, the world spinning. Hands caught him before he could faceplant. Easy. The gray-bearded one, Doc, had moved fast. I got you. Don't fight it. Jamal wanted to fight, wanted to wrench free and run, but his body was done. Finished. It had carried him this far, kept him upright through the beating, but now it was cashing in all those IOUs. He sagged against Doc's supporting arm. The older man lifted him like he weighed nothing. Light as a feather, Doc muttered. When's the last time you ate, kid? Jamal tried to remember. Yesterday? The day before? Time got fuzzy when you were hungry all the time. Couple hours ago, he lied. Uh-huh. Doc clearly didn't believe him. We'll fix that too. The world was going gray at the edges. Jamal fought to keep his eyes open, fought to stay conscious, but exhaustion was a tide, and he was drowning. The last thing he heard before darkness took him was Emma's small voice, tight with worry. Is he gonna be okay, Daddy? And Kodiak's response, firm and sure as stone. Yeah, baby. He's gonna be just fine. I promise. Then nothing. When Jamal surfaced again, seconds later or hours, he couldn't tell, he was moving, the rumble of an engine beneath him. Wind in his face. Arms locked around his middle, holding him secure. He cracked open his one good eye. They were on a motorcycle. He was pressed against someone's broad back, the leather of their cut rough against his cheek. Around them, more bikes flanked in formation, engines roaring in harmony. Stay still, a voice rumbled. Maverick. Almost there. Almost where? Jamal tried to ask, but his mouth wouldn't cooperate. His head lolled against Maverick's shoulder. Streetlights streaked past, orange and white trails painting the dusk. They turned off the main road. Then again. The buildings around them shifted from residential to industrial. Warehouses with broken windows, lots full of rusted equipment,
streets where pavement had given up pretending. The convoy slowed, pulled into a parking lot fronting a squat brick building. No sign, no windows. Just a heavy metal door and a dozen bikes already parked out front like metal soldiers. The clubhouse. Maverick killed the engine, climbed off, turned back to help Jamal dismount, but Jamal's legs were rubber. He would have collapsed if Maverick hadn't caught him. "I got him." Doc appeared at his other side. Together they half-carried, half-dragged Jamal toward the door. Inside was warmer, dimmer, smelled like leather and motor oil and something cooking. Meat, maybe. Chili. Jamal's stomach growled so loud it was embarrassing. "Put him on the table," Kodiak's voice from somewhere left. They maneuvered Jamal onto a long wooden table, scarred and stained from years of use. He lay back, staring up at a ceiling covered in old license plates and faded posters. Emma's face appeared above him, upside down. "Hi." "Hi."
Thank you. For before.
"You already thanked me."
I know, but I don't think I said it right.
She chewed her lower lip.
You could have died.
"Because of me." "Wasn't because of you, was because of them." She didn't look convinced. Before she could argue, Kodiak pulled her back gently. "Give Doc room to work, honey." Doc leaned over Jamal, shining a penlight in his eyes. "How's your vision? Everything clear?" "Little blurry." "Headache?" "Yeah." "Nausea?" "Not really." "Might have a mild concussion." Doc moved the light away, started probing Jamal's skull with careful fingers. "Swelling here and here. Nothing feels fractured, but we'll keep an eye on it. Open your mouth." Jamal obeyed. Doc peered inside, made a considering sound. "Bit your tongue pretty good. It'll heal. Any loose teeth?" Jamal probed with his tongue. Everything felt intact, just tender. "Don't think so." "Lucky." Doc moved down to Jamal's ribs, pressing gently. When he hit the spot where Tyler had kicked him, Jamal hissed. "That hurt?" "Yeah." "Scale of 1 to 10. 7, maybe 8. Doc nodded. "Probably bruised, possibly fractured. Hard to tell without an x-ray. Can you take a deep breath for me?" Jamal tried, made it about halfway before pain stopped him. "Okay, stop. Don't push it." Doc's hands moved to Jamal's right hand, the one Tyler had stomped on. Jamal hadn't even noticed how swollen it was until Doc lifted it. His knuckles were purple and distended, fingers curled into a half claw. "Can you make a fist?" Jamal tried. His fingers barely moved. Pain shot up his arm. "Yeah, thought so. Probably hairline fracture, maybe 2. Nothing that won't heal, but it's gonna hurt like hell for a while." Doc straightened. "Kid's beat to hell, but he'll live. Needs rest, food, and someone to watch him for the next 48 hours in case that concussion gets worse." "He can stay here," Kodiak said. The words landed in the room like a grenade. Several bikers turned to stare. "Boss?" one of them said carefully. "You sure about that?" "You got a problem with it, Hammer?" Hammer, the lean one with the scar, held up his hands. "Not a problem, just asking. Kid's not patched. He's not even a prospect. We don't usually—" "He stood over my daughter when 2 punks were gonna hurt her. He took a beating most grown men wouldn't take. That buys him a roof and a meal, at least until we figure out what's next." "What about the cops?" This from a stocky biker with a shaved head. "Kid goes to a hospital, they're gonna ask questions. Questions lead to reports. Reports lead to—" "I'm not going to a hospital," Jamal interrupted. All eyes swung to him. "I'm fine. I don't need—" "You got a concussion and busted ribs," Doc cut him off. "You need rest and observation. Now shut up and let the grown-ups talk." Jamal shut up. But little did he know that while he lay on that table, Tyler and Brett were already plotting their revenge. Because humiliation in the hands of stupid, scared boys? That was a weapon more dangerous than any gun. And the clock on Jamal's safety was already ticking down. Kodiak rubbed his jaw, thinking. No hospitals. Doc can handle it here. If something changes, if he gets worse, then we'll make that call. But for now, he looked at Jamal. You're staying put. Understood? It wasn't really a question, but Jamal nodded anyway. Good. Kodiak turned to the room at large. Anybody got a problem with that? Speak up now. Silence. Then Maverick grunted. Kid's got heart. I'm good. Same, someone else said. Yeah, all right. One by one, the men nodded or voiced agreement. Hammer was the last, his expression unreadable. But finally he shrugged. Your call, boss. Damn right it is. Kodiak looked at Doc. Get him cleaned up and fed. There's a cot in the back room. He can crash there tonight. On it. Doc helped Jamal sit up. The room swayed, but Jamal managed to stay upright. Emma hovered nearby, watching anxiously. Come on, kid, Doc said. Let's get you sorted. He guided Jamal through the clubhouse, past a bar lined with bottles, past a pool table and dartboard, past walls covered in photos and patches and memorabilia. In the back was a small room, barely bigger than a closet. A cot, a folding chair, a stack of clean towels. Sit, Doc ordered, pointing at the chair. Jamal sat. Doc disappeared, returned a minute later with a first aid kit and a bowl of warm water. He worked efficiently, cleaning blood from Jamal's face, disinfecting cuts, applying butterfly bandages where needed. When he got to the split lip, Jamal flinched. Yeah, that one's gonna sting. Hold still. The antiseptic burned. Jamal bit back a curse. There, that's the worst of it. Doc sat back, surveying his work. Now, let's wrap those ribs. He produced an elastic bandage, began winding it around Jamal's torso, tight enough to support, not so tight it restricted breathing. It hurt. God, it hurt. But by the time Doc finished, the pain had settled into something more manageable. Better? Jamal tested a breath. Still hurt, but bearable. Yeah, thanks. Don't thank me yet. This is gonna hurt worse tomorrow. Doc packed up the first aid kit. You allergic to anything? Any medications you're taking? No. Good. I'm gonna give you some ibuprofen for the pain and inflammation. Take 2 now, 2 more in 6 hours. You start feeling dizzy, nauseous, or your vision gets worse, you tell someone immediately. Clear? Clear. Doc handed him the pills and a bottle of water. Jamal swallowed them dry, then drained half the bottle. His throat felt like sandpaper. When's the last time you had water? Jamal thought about lying, decided against it. This morning? From a fountain. Jesus Christ. Doc shook his head. Finish that bottle. Then I'm bringing you food. He left. Jamal sat alone in the small room, trying to process everything. This morning he'd woken up in a doorway on the south side, just another invisible kid. Now he was in a Hells Angels clubhouse, being treated by a biker named Doc, under protection of a man called Kodiak. It didn't feel real. A soft knock at the door. Emma peeked in, tentative. Can I come in? It's not my room. She took that as a yes, slipping inside and closing the door. Up close, Jamal could see she'd been crying again. Her eyes were red-rimmed, nose still running a little. Does it hurt? She asked, gesturing vaguely at his face. Not too bad. You're lying. He almost smiled. Yeah. She sat on the floor, cross-legged, looking up at him. Why'd you do it? Do what? Help me. You didn't know me. You could have walked away.
Jamal didn't have a good answer.
How did you explain to a 7-year-old that some things weren't about knowing someone, weren't about weighing odds or calculating risk? How did you explain that sometimes you just moved because moving was the only thing that made sense? You were scared. They were hurting you. Someone had to stop them. But why you? Why not me? She considered that. Most people wouldn't have. I know. Most people would have just walked away. I know that too. She picked at the hem of her shirt, not looking at him. After my mom died, that was 3 years ago, Daddy said I had to be careful. Said there were people who'd try to hurt me just because of who he is. I thought he was being paranoid. Her voice went small. I guess he wasn't. I'm sorry about your mom. I'm sorry about yours. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Emma stood, crossed to where he sat, and wrapped her arms around his neck in a fierce hug. Jamal froze. He couldn't remember the last time someone had hugged him. His mom, maybe, in those last lucid days before the hospital. Thank you, Emma whispered into his shoulder. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Jamal's throat went tight. He lifted his good hand, patted her back awkwardly. You're welcome. She pulled back, wiping her eyes. You're gonna stay, right? Daddy said you could stay. For tonight. What about tomorrow? I don't know. You should stay. We have extra space, and Daddy likes you, and I like you, and— Emma! Kodiak's voice from the doorway. He didn't sound angry, just firm. Let him rest. But Daddy— Now, honey. Emma sighed, but obeyed, giving Jamal one last smile before slipping past her father. Kodiak watched her go, then turned his attention to Jamal. She gets attached easy, especially to people who show her kindness. She's a good kid. Yeah, she is. Kodiak stepped into the room, closed the door. Suddenly, the space felt very small. We need to talk. Jamal's stomach clenched. About what? About what happens next. Kodiak pulled the folding chair closer, sat down so they were eye level. Doc says you need observation for at least 48 hours. That means you're here through Friday. After that— He paused. Where were you planning to go? Jamal shrugged. I got spots. Spots. Places I sleep, it's fine. It's December, kid. It's 30 degrees at night. You're telling me you got a warm spot? Jamal didn't answer. Kodiak leaned forward, elbows on his knees. How long you been doing this? Really? I told you, 10 months. And before that? Before that, I had a mom and an apartment, and— Jamal cut himself off. No point going down that road. Doesn't matter, she's gone. The apartment's gone. I'm managing. Managing. Kodiak's tone suggested he had thoughts about that. You're 12 years old, barely 90 pounds, covered in bruises, living on the street. That's not managing, Jamal. That's surviving. And there's a difference. I'm doing fine. You passed out in an alley. Because I got beat up protecting your daughter. The words came out sharper than Jamal intended. He braced for anger, but Kodiak just nodded slowly. You're right, you did. And that's exactly why we're having this conversation. He sat back, arms crossed. I owe you. More than that, Emma owes you. In my world, that means something. Debts get paid. I don't want your money. Good, because I'm not offering money. Jamal frowned. Then what? A choice. Kodiak held his gaze. You can stay here. Not just tonight. Not just until your ribs heal. Stay. We'll figure out school, get you enrolled somewhere. You'll have a bed, food, people watching your back. In return, you follow the rules. Pull your weight. Don't make trouble. Jamal's heart was hammering. Why? Because you stood when you should have run. Because you took hits for someone smaller. Because... Kodiak paused. Because Emma's right. Most people would have walked away. You didn't. That tells me something about who you are.
You don't know me.
No. But I know what I saw. And I know that kid in that alley. The one who wouldn't stay down no matter how many times he got hit. That kid's got something. Call it heart, call it stubbornness, call it whatever you want. Point is, that's not something you can teach. You either got it or you don't. Jamal's mind was racing. This had to be a trick, a trap. Things like this didn't happen to kids like him. Nobody just offered safety, offered a home, offered... What's the catch? Kodiak's mouth quirked. Smart question. Catch is, this ain't a charity. You stay, you earn your keep. Help out around the clubhouse, run errands, whatever needs doing. Nothing illegal, nothing that puts you in danger. But you don't get to just sit around, and you follow the rules. My rules. House rules. Club rules. You step out of line, there are consequences.
What kind of consequences?
Depends on what you did. But I'm fair. You'll get warnings before anything serious. Jamal chewed his lip, thinking. This was insane. He knew that. He'd heard the stories about Hell's Angels his whole life. The violence, the crime, the chaos. Getting mixed up with them was a good way to end up dead or in prison. But he'd also heard other stories. Quieter ones. About how the angels took care of their own. About loyalty that ran bone deep. About family that had nothing to do with blood. And the alternative was another Chicago winter on the streets, another 3 months of freezing nights and empty stomachs, and waking up not sure if this would be the day he didn't wake up. What Jamal didn't realize was that his decision had already been made for him, because 3 blocks away, Tyler Chen was making a phone call to his cousin, a cousin who ran with a rival crew. And by morning, half the South Side would know that Kodiak had taken in a homeless kid who'd embarrassed 2 of their own. The target on Jamal's back was growing by the second.
I need to think about it,
Jamal said finally. Kodiak nodded. Fair enough. You got 48 hours. Take your time, figure out what you want. But Jamal? He stood, heading for the door. Whatever you decide, you leave here with money in your pocket and my number in your phone. You get in trouble, you call. Understood? Understood. Kodiak opened the door, paused. One more thing. Those boys, Tyler and Brett, they're here, in the clubhouse. Jamal's blood went cold. What? Relax. They're locked in a storage room, not going anywhere. But I need to know something. Kodiak turned back, eyes sharp. What do you want me to do with them? I don't... Jamal stopped. Why are you asking me? Because you're the one they hurt. You're the one who bled. So you get a say in what happens next. Jamal's thoughts were a tangle. Part of him wanted to say, hurt them, make them pay, let them feel what they did to me. But a bigger part, the part that sounded like his mom, said that would just make him like them. I don't want them dead. Okay. What do you want? I want... Jamal struggled for words. I want them to understand what they did, why it was wrong. I want them to actually get it, not just be scared of you. Kodiak studied him for a long moment. Then he smiled. A real smile this time, reaching his eyes. You know what, kid? I think we're gonna get along just fine. He left, closing the door behind him. Alone again, Jamal lay back on the cot, staring at the ceiling. His body hurt everywhere. His mind was spinning. And for the first time in 10 months, he had a decision to make that actually mattered. A knock. Doc returned with a tray,
A bowl of chili, a hunk of bread, a fresh bottle of water. Eat all of it, then sleep. Jamal didn't need to be told twice. He devoured the chili, thick with beef and beans and spices that burned his split lip but tasted like heaven. The bread was still warm, butter melting into the crust. He ate until his stomach hurt, then drank the entire bottle of water. Good, Doc said, taking the empty tray. Now sleep. I'll check on you in a few hours. He dimmed the lights on his way out. Jamal lay back, pulling the thin blanket up to his chin. Through the closed door, he could hear the sounds of the clubhouse. Low voices, laughter, the clink of bottles. Normal sounds. Safe sounds. His eyes were already drifting shut when the door cracked open one more time. Emma's face appeared in the gap.
Jamal?
She whispered. Yeah?
I'm glad you're okay.
Me too.
Sweet dreams.
You too, Emma. The door clicked shut, and Jamal, for the first time in longer than he could remember, felt something that might have been peace. But outside that small room, in a storage closet down the hall, Brett Lawson was whispering to Tyler Chen through the darkness. And what they were planning, what they were promising each other, would shatter that peace before Jamal even woke up. He was asleep in seconds, completely unaware that his war had only just begun. Jamal woke to voices, angry voices, coming from somewhere beyond his small room. He sat up too fast. Pain exploded through his ribs, forcing a gasp he barely managed to swallow. The room spun for a second before settling. Gray morning light filtered through a crack in the door. He'd slept through the night. Actually slept. The voices got louder. Don't care what you promised him, Kodiak. This is a mistake. You questioning me, Hammer? I'm saying what everyone else is thinking. Kid's a liability. We don't know him. Don't know where he came from. Don't know if he's got family looking for him. Cops sniffing around. He doesn't have family. You heard him. We heard what he told us. Could be lying. Could be running from something. Could be a 12-year-old kid who took a beating from my daughter and deserves better than freezing to death in an alley. Silence. Then a different voice. Older, gravelly. Kodiak's right. Doc. Kid's got nothing. No one. We turn him out now, he's dead by spring. That's not our problem, Hammer shot back. We're not a charity. We're not social workers. We're family. Kodiak's voice went quiet. Dangerous quiet. And family takes care of its own. Jamal stood for Emma when he had every reason to run. That makes him ours. Anyone got a problem with that can take it up with me. Outside. Right now. More silence. Jamal's hands were shaking. He pressed them against his thighs, trying to steady them. They were arguing about him. Fighting about whether he deserved to stay. Part of him wanted to slip out the back, disappear before he caused more trouble. That's what he always did. Keep moving. Don't be a burden. Don't make people choose. But another part, the part that remembered the warm chili, the clean bandages, Emma's hug, that part wanted to stay so badly it hurt worse than his ribs. The door to his room creaked open. Doc stuck his head in. You're awake. Good. How's the pain? It's okay. Don't lie to me, kid. Scale of 1 to 10. Jamal shifted, testing. 6, maybe 7. Better than yesterday. That's good. Doc stepped inside, closing the door behind him. You hear any of that? No point lying. Yeah. Doc sighed, running a hand through his gray beard. Hammer's not a bad guy. He's just careful. Seen too many people bring trouble through that door. I don't want to cause trouble. I know, but trouble's got a way of finding people whether they want it or not. Doc sat on the folding chair, studying Jamal's face. Swelling's down, that's good. How's your vision?
Clear.
Headache?
Little bit.
Nausea? Dizziness?
No.
Doc nodded, satisfied. Concussion's mild then. You're lucky. He pulled out the bottle of ibuprofen, shook 2 pills into his palm. Take these, and drink water, lots of it. Jamal swallowed the pills dry, then drained half the water bottle Doc handed him. His stomach growled loud enough to echo. When's the last time you ate? Last night, the chili. That was 8 hours ago. Come on, breakfast is ready. Jamal hesitated. What about... He gestured vaguely toward the door, toward the argument he'd overheard. What about nothing? You're here, you eat. That's the rule. Doc stood, offering a hand. Can you walk?
Yeah.
Jamal took the hand, let Doc pull him to his feet. His legs were stiff, sore, but they held. Doc led him out of the small room, through a narrow hallway, and into the main clubhouse. It was different in daylight, less intimidating somehow. The walls were still covered in photos and patches and memorabilia, but now Jamal could see details. A faded picture of young bikers standing next to vintage choppers. A newspaper clipping about a charity ride. A child's drawing, Emma's probably, taped to the wall near the bar. 6 men sat around the big wooden table, Kodiak at the head, Hammer to his right, arms crossed, jaw tight. Maverick on the left, relaxed, coffee mug in hand. 3 others Jamal didn't recognize. The conversation stopped when Jamal appeared. Kodiak's eyes flicked to him, expression unreadable. You sleep okay?
Yes, sir.
How many times I gotta tell you, not sir. Kodiak.
Sorry, Kodiak.
Better. Sit down. You need food. Jamal slid into an empty chair at the far end of the table, trying to make himself small, trying not to take up too much space. A plate appeared in front of him. Scrambled eggs, bacon, toast, hash browns. More food than he'd seen in one place in months. Eat, Doc ordered, taking the seat next to him. Jamal picked up a fork with his good hand. His right hand was still swollen, wrapped in an elastic bandage Doc must have applied while he slept. He scooped up eggs, brought them to his mouth. They were still warm, seasoned with pepper and something else. Garlic, maybe. Heaven. He tried to eat slow, tried to pace himself, but his body had other ideas. Within minutes, the plate was empty. Maverick grunted. Kid was hungry. Kid's been starving, Doc corrected. Probably been rationing scraps for months. He looked at Jamal. More? Jamal's pride said no. His stomach said yes. His stomach won. Please. Doc brought another plate. Jamal ate slower this time, aware of eyes on him. Hammer hadn't stopped staring since he sat down. What Jamal didn't know was that while he slept, Kodiak had made calls, checked stories, confirmed facts. Jamal's mother, Sharon Williams, had died 11 months ago. No father listed, no other family on record. The kid had been telling the truth. And that truth was about to make Hammer's concerns seem very small compared to what was coming. So, Hammer said finally, breaking the silence, what's the plan here, boss? Kid stays a few days, heals up, then what? Kodiak sipped his coffee. Then we figure out next steps. Next steps meaning what? Meaning school, documents, making sure he's not sleeping in doorways when winter really hits. Hammer leaned forward. You're talking about taking him in. Officially. I'm talking about doing what's right. Right for who? Him or us? Hammer's voice stayed level, but the edge was there. We got heat on us already. Cops watching. Feds probably watching. Now we bring in a homeless kid with no paperwork, no background check, nothing? You don't think that raises flags?
He's 12 years old.
He's a stranger. Kodiak set his mug down, hard. He bled for my daughter.
And we're grateful. But grateful doesn't mean we turn the clubhouse into an orphanage.
Hammer looked around the table, seeking support. Anybody else want to chime in here? One of the other bikers, stocky, shaved head, tattoo of a snake coiling up his neck, cleared his throat. I'm with Hammer on this. It's a risk. Everything's a risk, Viper, Maverick said. Kid being on the street is a bigger risk. What happens when he freezes to death, and it comes out he was the one who saved Emma? How's that gonna look? We can't save every kid in Chicago, Hammer shot back. We're not trying to save every kid, just this one. The argument was heating up again. Jamal felt his chest tighten. This was his fault. He was causing division, breaking something that had been whole before he showed up. He set his fork down. I can go. Every head turned toward him. I can go, Jamal repeated. His voice came out steadier than he felt. I don't want to cause problems. I appreciate the food and the bed and everything. But if people are gonna fight because of me, I should just go. Kodiak's expression softened. Kid, I mean it. Jamal pushed his chair back, started to stand. I've been on my own this long. I can keep going. I'll be fine. Sit down, Kodiak said. But sit down. Jamal sat. Kodiak stood, walking slowly around the table until he was standing behind Jamal's chair. He put one heavy hand on Jamal's shoulder, not rough, just there, solid, grounding. You're not going anywhere. Not today. Not tomorrow. Not until we've figured out something better than you sleeping behind dumpsters. Kodiak looked at Hammer. And anyone who's got a problem with that knows where the door is. Hammer held his gaze for a long moment. Then, slowly, he nodded. Fine. But if this blows back on us, it won't. You don't know that. I know that kid sitting right there took hits that should have put him in the hospital, and he's still standing. I know he's got more heart than half the prospects we've patched in. And I know. Kodiak's grip on Jamal's shoulder tightened slightly. I know what it's like to have nobody. To be invisible. And I'm not gonna let that happen to him. The words hung in the air. Heavy. Final. But what none of them knew was that 3 miles away, Tyler Chen was uploading a video to every social media platform he could find. The footage was grainy, shot from a distance, but you could see it all. Emma cornered, Jamal standing between her and the bullies. The beating. And then, the moment that would go viral by noon, Kodiak's arrival. The Hells Angels rolling in like thunder. Tyler had titled it, Homeless Kid Takes Down Bullies Until Hells Angels Show Up. Must watch. By the time Jamal finished breakfast, the video had 5,000 views. Hammer finally broke eye contact with Kodiak, leaning back in his chair. All right, he stays. But he follows every rule, no exceptions. Agreed, Kodiak said. And if cops come asking questions, I'll handle it. Hammer nodded once. Okay then. He looked at Jamal, expression still hard, but maybe, just maybe, a fraction softer. Welcome to the circus, kid. Jamal didn't know what to say to that, so he just nodded. The tension in the room eased. Conversation started up again, normal topics. Who was working on which bike? Who owed who money from last night's poker game? Whether the Bears had any chance this season. Jamal sat quiet, eating his second plate of food, trying to process. He was staying, actually staying. For how long he didn't know, but for now he had a roof, food, people who, maybe, gave a damn whether he lived or died. It felt like a dream. Doc nudged him. Finish up. I need to change those bandages on your hand. Jamal nodded, shoveling the last of his eggs. As he stood to follow Doc back to the small room, the front door burst open. Emma ran in, backpack bouncing, blonde hair wild. "Jamal!" She launched herself at him.
Jam barely had time to brace before she wrapped her arms around his waist, squeezing tight. "Ow, ow, ow, ribs!"
"Oh!" Emma jumped back. "Sorry, I forgot. Are you okay? Did you sleep good? Are you staying? Daddy said you're staying." I'm okay. And yeah, I guess I'm staying. For a while." "Good." She grinned up at him. "I brought you something." She dug into her backpack, pulled out a crumpled brown paper bag. Inside was a granola bar, an apple, and a juice box. "It's from my lunch," Emma explained. "But I already ate breakfast, so I thought you might want it." Jamal's throat went tight. "You didn't have to do that." "I know, but I wanted to." She pushed the bag into his hands. "You can have it later if you're not hungry now." "Thank you." Emma's smile got wider. Then she turned to Kodiak. "Can I show him my room? Please, please, please?" Kodiak raised an eyebrow. "He just ate. Doc needs to check his bandages. And you need to get ready for school."
"But Daddy—"
"School first. You can show him later." Emma pouted but didn't argue. She gave Jamal one more quick hug, gentler this time, then bounded up a set of stairs Jamal hadn't noticed before. Kodiak watched her go, something like affection crossing his face. Then he looked at Jamal. "She likes you." "She's a good kid." "Yeah, she is." Kodiak paused. "Her mom died 3 years ago. Cancer. Fast and ugly. Since then, it's been just us, me and her and the club. She doesn't let people in easy. But when she does," he shrugged, "she's all in." Jamal didn't know what to say to that, so he just nodded. "Come on," Doc said. "Let's get those bandages changed before the swelling gets worse." Jamal followed Doc back to the small room. Doc unwrapped the elastic bandage carefully, exposing Jamal's right hand. The swelling had gone down a little overnight, but the bruising was spectacular. Deep purple spreading from his knuckles down to his wrist. "Can you move your fingers?" Jamal tried. They shifted a little. Pain flared, but it was bearable. "Good, that's good." Doc probed gently, checking each bone. "I don't think anything's broken, just badly bruised. Keep it wrapped for another few days. Ice it when you can. And try not to punch anybody." "Wasn't planning on it." Doc grinned. "Smart kid." He rewrapped the hand, then sat back. "So, how you holding up? Really?" "I'm okay." "That's the 3rd time you've said that, and I still don't believe you." Jamal looked at his wrapped hand. "I don't know what I'm supposed to feel." "What do you mean?" "I mean, yesterday I was nobody, just another street kid. Today I'm eating breakfast with Hell's Angels and people are arguing about whether I should stay and Emma's giving me her lunch and I don't—" He stopped, struggling for words. "I don't know if this is real, if it's gonna last, if I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and it'll all be gone." Doc was quiet for a moment. "I get that. I do. But let me tell you something about Kodiak. When he says you're under his protection, he means it. That's not a temporary thing. That's not charity. That's family." "But I'm not family." "You stood over his daughter when 2 punks were gonna hurt her. In this world, that makes you family." Doc leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "Look, I'm not gonna lie to you. This life, this club, it's not always easy. There are rules, expectations, things you're gonna have to learn, things you're gonna have to prove. But if you stick it out, if you show them the same heart you showed in that alley, you'll have brothers who'd die for you. And that's worth something." Jamal wanted to believe him, wanted to believe this could be real, could be permanent. but a lifetime of disappointment had taught him not to hope too hard.
What if I mess up? He asked quietly.
Then you mess up. We all mess up. The question is what you do after. Doc stood, stretching. Get some rest. You're still healing. And tonight, he grinned. Tonight you meet the rest of the club. It's Friday. Everyone comes through on Friday.
How many people?
20, maybe 30. Depends who shows up. Jamal's stomach flipped. 30 bikers. 30 strangers. All of them judging whether he deserved to be here. Don't look so scared, Doc said. Most of them are gonna love you. You saved Emma. That counts for a lot.
Most. Not all.
Doc left. Jamal lay back on the cot, staring at the ceiling. His body ached. His mind raced. And somewhere in the distance, he could hear Emma singing to herself upstairs. He closed his eyes, just for a minute, just to rest. When he opened them again, the light had changed. Hours had passed. He sat up, disoriented. Someone was shouting outside, not angry, excited. Jamal got to his feet, wincing at the stiffness in his legs, and made his way to the main room. It was full. Not 30 people, maybe 15, but the noise level made it feel like 100. Bikers everywhere, some sitting at the table playing cards, some at the bar, some clustered around a laptop on the counter. And they were all watching something. Already got 50,000 views. 50,000, try 70, and climbing. Who the hell filmed this? Does it matter? It's everywhere. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Kid's famous. Jamal's blood went cold. Famous? He pushed through the crowd until he could see the laptop screen. There he was, in the alley, taking hits from Tyler, standing over Emma. And then, Kodiak's arrival. The bikes rolling in. The whole thing. "Oh shit," someone said. "There's the kid, right there." Everyone turned to look at Jamal. He felt like a bug under a microscope. Kodiak appeared at his side. "You okay?" That's me. On the internet." "Yeah, it is." Kodiak didn't sound happy about it. "How many people have seen it?" "A lot, and that number's growing." Jamal felt sick. "I didn't know anyone was filming." "Neither did we." Kodiak closed the laptop. "But it's out there now. Can't take it back." What Jamal didn't understand yet, what none of them understood, was that the video wasn't just making him famous. It was making him a target. Because Tyler's cousin ran with a crew called the Iron Disciples, and they'd just watched their blood get humiliated by a 12-year-old under Hell's Angels' protection. That kind of disrespect demanded an answer, and the Disciples were already planning theirs. "Is this bad?" Jamal asked quietly. Kodiak hesitated. "Could be. Depends on who sees it." "The cops?" "Cops are the least of my worries right now." Kodiak steered Jamal away from the crowd, toward a quieter corner. "That video shows you defending Emma. Shows Tyler and Brett attacking you. Shows us arriving after the fact. From a legal standpoint, we're clean, but what? But now people know who you are, know you're connected to us. That makes you visible. And visible can be dangerous." Jamal's hands started shaking again. "I didn't mean, I know, not your fault." Kodiak put a hand on his shoulder. "We'll handle it. But you need to be careful. No going out alone, no talking to strangers. You stay close to someone from the club at all times. Understood?" "Understood." The door opened again. More bikers filed in, and with them came Emma, fresh from school, eyes bright. "Jamal, you're awake! Come on, I want to show you my room now." She grabbed his good hand and pulled. Jamal glanced at Kodiak, who nodded permission. "Go.
But stay upstairs. Don't come down until I call for you. Emma dragged Jamal up the narrow staircase. The second floor was smaller than he expected, just a hallway with 3 doors. Emma pushed open the middle one.
Her room was exactly what he'd expected. Pink walls covered in drawings and posters, stuffed animals piled on the bed, a bookshelf overflowing with chapter books and comics.
This is my room, Emma announced proudly. That's my bed. That's my desk. That's where I do homework. And that,
she pointed to a beanbag chair in the corner.
That's where you can sit.
Jamal lowered himself carefully onto the beanbag. His ribs protested, but it was actually pretty comfortable. Emma plopped down on her bed, cross-legged.
Want to hear about my day? Sure. Okay, so first we had math, and I got 100 on my times tables quiz. Then we had reading, and we're doing this book about a dog who saves people, and it's really good, but kinda sad. Then at lunch, Katie Mendez said she saw a video of my dad, and I said, "What video?" And she showed me on her phone, and it was you, in the alley, fighting those boys.
Jamal's stomach dropped. Everyone at your school saw it?
I don't know about everyone, but Katie did, and she said you were really brave. She said most people would have run away, but you didn't.
I wasn't brave. I was just... Jamal stopped. He didn't know how to finish that sentence.
You were brave, Emma insisted, and now everyone knows it.
That's what Jamal was afraid of. They sat in comfortable silence for a minute. Then Emma asked,
Are you scared?
Of what?
Of being here, with us, with Daddy and the club.
Jamal thought about lying, but Emma's eyes were too honest, too open. A little bit, yeah.
Why?
Because I don't know how to do this, how to be part of something. I've been alone for so long, I don't remember how to... He stopped, frustrated with himself. Emma scooted to the edge of the bed, closer.
You don't have to remember. You just have to try. That's what Daddy always says. Just try.
Your dad's pretty smart.
I know.
She grinned. Then her expression got serious again.
Can I ask you something?
Okay.
Do you miss your mom?
The question hit Jamal like a punch. He wasn't expecting it. Wasn't prepared for the wave of grief that came with it. Yeah, he managed. Every day.
Me too. Even though it's been 3 years, I still miss mine. Daddy says that's okay. Says it means she mattered.
She did matter.
Your mom too.
They sat with that truth between them. 2 kids who'd lost their mothers. 2 kids trying to figure out how to keep going. Downstairs, someone started playing music. Loud. Raucous. The kind that vibrated through the floorboards. Emma rolled her eyes.
Friday nights are always like this. They get loud. You don't mind? Nah, I'm used to it. Plus, Daddy made my room soundproof. Mostly. She hopped off the bed. Want to see something cool?
Sure.
She went to her closet, dug around, emerged with a shoebox. Inside were photos. Lots of them.
This is my mom, Emma said, holding up a picture of a woman with blonde hair and Emma's smile.
Her name was Sarah. She was really pretty and really nice, and she made the best pancakes.
Jamal looked at the photo.
Sarah had kind eyes, the kind that probably saw the best in people.
She looks like you.
Everyone says that. Emma shuffled through more photos. This is me when I was a baby. This is Christmas 3 years ago. This is... She stopped, staring at a photo of her mom, and Kodiak all together. Happy.
You miss her a lot, Jamal said softly.
Yeah, but I got Daddy, and I got the club, and now... She looked up at him. Now I got you too, right? Jamal's throat went tight.
Yeah, you got me. Emma smiled. Good, because I think we're going to be good friends. And in that moment, in that pink room with a 7-year-old who'd decided he mattered, Jamal felt something shift.
Like maybe, just maybe, he could belong somewhere. But downstairs, Kodiak's phone was buzzing. A text from an unknown number. Just 4 words. We know where he is. The war Jamal didn't know he'd started was about to knock on their door. Kodiak stared at his phone. The text glowed in the dim light of the clubhouse. We know where he is. No name, no signature. Just a threat wrapped in 4 words. He deleted the message, slipped the phone back into his pocket, and looked around the room. His brothers were laughing, drinking, enjoying Friday night like nothing was wrong. Emma was upstairs with Jamal, safe for now, but that text changed everything. Someone was watching. Someone new. Kodiak caught Hammer's eye across the room, gave a slight jerk of his head toward the back. Hammer set down his beer and followed. In the small office behind the bar, Kodiak showed him the screenshot he'd taken before deleting. Hammer's jaw tightened. When'd you get this? 2 minutes ago. You recognize the number? No, probably a burner. Hammer pulled out his own phone, started typing. I'll run it, see what comes up. He paused, looking at Kodiak. Could be nothing. Could be some punk trying to scare you. Could be. But I don't believe in coincidences. That video goes viral, and 6 hours later I get a threat about the kid? Someone's making a move. Tyler's cousin, Hammer said. Has to be. Kid runs with the Iron Disciples. That's what I'm thinking. So what do we do? Kodiak rubbed his jaw. We lock it down. Double the watch tonight. No one in or out without clearance. And we keep Jamal close. For how long? As long as it takes. Hammer nodded. I'll spread the word. Quiet. Don't want to spook the kid. Agreed. They returned to the main room. Kodiak scanned the faces, counting. 15 brothers present. Not enough if things went bad, but enough to mount a defense. He pulled Maverick aside next. Need you to do me a favor. Name it. Take a ride past Tyler Chen's house. See who's there. Don't engage, just observe. Maverick's eyes sharpened. You expecting trouble? I'm expecting someone to be stupid. I want to know how stupid before they try it. On it. Maverick grabbed his keys and helmet, slipped out the side door. Upstairs, Emma was showing Jamal her collection of stuffed animals, explaining the name and backstory of each one. Jamal listened, nodding in the right places, but his mind was elsewhere. Something felt off. The air had changed, like the calm before a storm. And this one's Mr. Buttons, Emma said, holding up a worn teddy bear with one eye missing. He's the oldest. Mommy gave him to me when I was born. He looks well loved. He is. Emma hugged the bear tight. Daddy says things that are loved show it. That's why Mr. Buttons looks raggedy, but that's okay because it means I love him lots. Before Jamal could respond, footsteps thundered up the stairs. Kodiak appeared in the doorway. Emma, bedtime. But Daddy, it's only 8 o'clock. I know. Early night. Come on. Emma's face scrunched up, ready to argue, but something in Kodiak's tone stopped her. She looked between her father and Jamal, sensing the tension. Okay, she said quietly. She gave Jamal a quick hug. See you tomorrow? Yeah, see you tomorrow. Emma grabbed Mr. Buttons and headed to her own room. Kodiak waited until her door clicked shut, then looked at Jamal. We need to talk. Downstairs. Jamal's stomach dropped. Did I do something wrong? No, but we got a situation. Come on.
He followed Kodiak down to the main room. Most of the bikers had cleared out, leaving just Hammer, Doc, and a few others Jamal recognized from breakfast. They stood in a loose circle, faces serious. "Sit," Kodiak said, pointing to a chair. Jamal sat. Kodiak didn't sugarcoat it. "I got a text an hour ago, anonymous. Said they know where you are." The words hit Jamal like cold water. "Who sent it?" "Don't know yet, but my guess? Tyler's got friends. Friends who don't like seeing him get embarrassed." "The video," Jamal whispered. "Yeah, the video." Kodiak pulled up a chair, sat facing him. "Here's the situation. That footage went viral. Over 100,000 views now. People are talking about it. Some think it's great. Kids standing up to bullies, Hell's Angels coming to the rescue. Others see it different. They see weakness. They see their boys getting punked by a 12-year-old. I didn't mean for any of this, I know, not blaming you. But we gotta deal with reality. And reality is, you got a target on your back now." Jamal's hands started shaking. He pressed them against his legs. "What do they want?" "Probably to make an example. Show they're not scared of us. Show they can get to people under our protection. So this is about you, not me." "It's about both." Kodiak leaned forward. "But here's what you need to understand. We don't back down. We don't give people up. You're here, you're protected, and that doesn't change because someone sent a threatening text." "But what if they come here? What if Emma gets hurt because of me?" "Emma's fine. She's got a panic button in her room wired directly to my phone. Her windows are reinforced. Her door locks from the inside. She's safer here than anywhere else in the city." Doc spoke up. "Kid's got a point, though. We bring trouble to the clubhouse. We put everyone at risk." "We've had trouble at the clubhouse before," Hammer said. "We handled it. We'll handle it again." "This is different," Doc argued. "This is about a kid. They might not play by the usual rules." What none of them knew was that 2 blocks away, 3 cars were parking in the shadows. 8 men climbed out, pulling on masks, checking weapons. They weren't coming to talk. They were coming to send a message, and that message was written in blood. Jamal felt sick. Maybe I should leave. Just disappear. They can't target me if they can't find me. "And go where?" Kodiak asked. "Back to the streets? That's exactly what they want. They want you isolated, vulnerable, easy to grab. Here you got walls. You got people willing to fight. Out there you got nothing." "But no buts. You're staying. That's final." Kodiak stood. "Hammer, how many bodies we got tonight?" 15 here. I can call in another 10, maybe 12 if we need them." "Do it. Full lockdown protocol. No one leaves. No one enters without my say-so." Hammer pulled out his phone, started making calls. Doc looked at Jamal. "Come on, kid. Let's get you somewhere safe." "Where's safer than here?" "The vault." Jamal blinked. "The what?" Doc led him to a door he hadn't noticed before, hidden behind the bar. Inside was a small room, concrete walls, no windows, a cot in the corner, a mini-fridge, a TV mounted on the wall. "We use this for storage mostly, but it's reinforced. Walls are a foot thick, doors steel. Someone wants to get in here, they're gonna need explosives." "You want me to hide in a concrete box?" "I want you alive. There's a difference." Doc's voice was gentle but firm. "Look, I know this sucks. I know you didn't ask for any of this. But right now, this is the safest place for you." Jamal looked at the small room. It felt like a cell. Like all those group homes he'd heard about, the ones where kids got locked in for their own protection. "How long?" "Until we know what we're dealing with. Could be an hour, could be all night." Jamal's chest tightened. "I don't like small spaces."
Doc's expression softened. You got claustrophobia? I don't know what it's called. When I'm closed in, I can't breathe right. Okay, we'll figure something else out. Doc stepped back into the main room.
Kodiak, kid can't do the vault. He'll panic. Kodiak swore under his breath. Then where?
My room, a voice said. Everyone turned. Viper stood in the doorway, the stocky biker with the snake tattoo. I got a room upstairs, 2 exits, windows that open. Kid can stay there. I'll bunk with Hammer for the night. Kodiak considered. That work for you, Jamal? Jamal nodded quickly. Anything was better than that concrete box. All right, Viper's room.
But you don't leave it without an escort.
Clear? Clear. Viper led Jamal upstairs to a room at the end of the hall. It was sparse. A bed, a dresser, a window overlooking the parking lot. But it didn't feel like a cage. Bathroom's through there, Viper said, pointing to a door. Help yourself to whatever. I'll be downstairs if you need anything. Thanks. Viper paused at the door. For what it's worth, kid, you did good. In that alley.
Most people, hell, most men, wouldn't have done what you did. He left before Jamal could respond.
Alone, Jamal sat on the edge of the bed. His ribs ached, his hand throbbed, his mind raced. This morning he'd felt safe. Now everything was falling apart again. He pulled out the granola bar Emma had given him, unwrapped it slowly. The chocolate chips were melted, the oats soft. He ate it anyway, forcing down bites even though his stomach was churning. Outside, engines roared. Not just 1 or 2. A lot. Jamal went to the window, looked down. Bikes were rolling into the parking lot. 10, 15, 20. More kept coming. Brothers answering the call. Within minutes, the small lot was packed with chrome and leather. Kodiak stood in the center, directing traffic, organizing positions. This wasn't just a precaution anymore. This was preparation for war. Jamal's phone buzzed. He jumped, then remembered he didn't have a phone. The sound was coming from the dresser. He opened the top drawer, found a cheap flip phone with a note. In case of emergency, Kodiak's number is programmed. Use it. The phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. Look outside. Jamal's blood went cold. He moved to the window, careful to stay back from the glass. 3 cars sat across the street. Dark sedans, windows tinted, engines running. Someone was watching. Jamal ran to the door, yanked it open, nearly collided with Doc in the hallway. There's cars, Jamal gasped. Across the street. 3 of them. Doc's face went hard. Get back in the room. Lock the door. But now, Jamal. Doc was already moving, taking the stairs 2 at a time. Jamal heard him shouting, We got company! East side! Jamal retreated into Viper's room, locked the door like he'd been told. His heart hammered. Through the window, he watched bikers pour out of the clubhouse, forming a line between the building and the cars.
Kodiak stood at the front, arms crossed, waiting.
One of the car doors opened. A man stepped out. Tall, broad, dressed in black. Even from this distance, Jamal could see the tattoo on his neck. A disciple. An iron cross wrapped in thorns. Iron Disciples, Tyler's cousin's crew. The man walked forward slowly, hands visible, no weapon drawn. He stopped 10 feet from Kodiak. We got a problem, the man said. His voice carried in the quiet night.
Only problem I see is you on my property,
Kodiak replied. That video, the one with your kid and our boys, that's the problem. Your boys attacked a 7-year-old girl. They got what they deserved. They got embarrassed, made us all look weak. That's not something we can let slide. So what? You're here to do something about it? The man smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "We're here to make things right. You give us the kid who put his hands on our blood, we call it even.
No more trouble." Jamal's stomach dropped. They wanted him. They wanted to take him. "Kid's 12 years old," Kodiak said. "And he didn't put hands on anyone. He defended himself." "Don't matter. He made us look bad. That's got a price." "And what price is that?" The man's smile widened. "You give him to us, we'll make it quick. He won't suffer much." "You're talking about killing a child." "I'm talking about respect. About making sure people know they can't mess with the Iron Disciples without consequences." Kodiak's voice dropped to that dangerous quiet Jamal was learning to recognize. "Here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna get back in your cars. You're gonna leave. And you're gonna forget that kid exists. Because if you don't, if you come back here, if you so much as look at him wrong, I will burn your clubhouse to the ground with everyone inside. That clear enough for you?" The man's smile faded. "You're making a mistake." "No, you made the mistake. Thinking you could threaten someone under my protection?" The man stared at Kodiak for a long moment. Then he looked past him, scanning the line of bikers, looking for weaknesses, looking for an opening. He found none. "This isn't over," the man said. "Yeah, it is. You just don't know it yet." The man retreated to his car. All three vehicles revved their engines, tires screeching as they peeled away into the night. But Jamal knew better than to feel relieved. Because as the cars disappeared, he saw something the others didn't. One man stayed behind, crouched in the shadows of a building across the street, watching, waiting. They weren't gone. They were just getting started. Downstairs, Kodiak was giving orders. "Double the watch. I want eyes on every entrance, every window, and somebody get me a location on Tyler Chen and Brett Lawson. Now!" "Already on it," Hammer said, phone pressed to his ear. Maverick appeared from the side door, helmet under his arm. "Tyler's house is empty. Looks like the family cleared out." "What about Brett?" "Same. House is dark. No cars in the driveway." "They're hiding," Kodiak said. "Someone told them to lay low." "You think they're with the disciples?" Doc asked. "I think the disciples are using them. Kids are probably scared shitless, don't know what they stepped in." Viper crossed his arms. "So what's the play? We can't just wait for them to come back." "We don't wait. We make them come to us. On our terms." Kodiak looked around the room. "Spread the word. We're throwing a party tomorrow night. Big one. Music, food, bikes. Make it loud. Make it public." "You want to draw them out," Hammer said. "I want them to see we're not scared. I want them to see that kid's got the whole club behind him. They want a war? We'll give them one. But it'll be a war they can't win." What Kodiak didn't know was that the Iron Disciples weren't planning to wait until tomorrow. The man hiding across the street was already texting coordinates to his crew. They'd be back before sunrise, and this time, they weren't coming to talk. Upstairs, Jamal pressed his forehead against the cool window glass. His breath fogged the pain. He felt trapped, helpless, like all those months on the street, only worse, because now other people were in danger because of him. A soft knock at the door. "It's me," Emma's voice, small and scared. Jamal unlocked the door. Emma stood in her pajamas, clutching Mr. Buttons. "You're supposed to be in bed." "I heard yelling. Are the bad men gone?" "For now." Emma slipped into the room, closed the door behind her. "Daddy says not to worry. Says he's got it handled." "Your dad's good at handling things." "He is." She sat on the floor, leaning against the bed.
Are you scared?
Jamal thought about lying, but Emma deserved honesty.
Yeah, a little bit. Me too.
She hugged Mr. Buttons tighter.
After Mommy died, I was scared all the time. Scared Daddy would leave too. Scared I'd be alone. Scared of everything. What changed? I realized Daddy wasn't going anywhere. That he'd fight anyone, do anything to keep me safe. And once I knew that, really knew it, I stopped being so scared. Must be nice, having someone like that.
Emma looked up at him.
You got someone like that now.
You got Daddy, and me, and Doc, and Maverick, and everyone. They're not gonna let anything happen to you. Jamal wanted to believe her, wanted to believe he'd found something permanent, something that wouldn't disappear the moment things got hard. But he'd learned a long time ago that nothing was permanent. People left. People died. People gave up. You should go back to bed, he said quietly, before your dad finds out you're here. Emma stood, but didn't leave.
Jamal?
Yeah?
You're not gonna run away, are you? When things get scary?
The question cut deep. Because part of him, the part that had survived by running, by never staying in one place too long, wanted to do exactly that. I don't know, he admitted.
Promise me you won't. Promise me you'll stay and let us help.
Jamal looked at her small face, her wide eyes, her absolute faith that promises meant something. I promise, he said. And he meant it, even if it scared him, even if every instinct screamed to bolt.
Emma smiled. Good, because I already told Katie Mendez that you're my brother now, and I don't want to be a liar.
She slipped out before Jamal could respond to that. Brother. The word echoed in his head. He'd never had a brother, never had a sister, never had anyone who claimed him like that. He lay back on Viper's bed, staring at the ceiling. Outside, he could hear the rumble of bikes, the low murmur of voices, guards taking positions, a fortress being built around him. He should feel grateful, protected, safe. Instead, he felt like a bomb with a lit fuse, waiting to explode and take everyone with him. His eyes were just starting to drift closed when glass shattered downstairs. Someone screamed. Then gunfire. The war had started. Jamal rolled off the bed, hit the floor hard. His ribs screamed, but he ignored them. More gunfire, shouting, the sound of engines roaring to life. He crawled to the door, cracked it open. The hallway was empty, but he could hear chaos below. He should stay put, should follow orders. But Emma's room was across the hall, and he needed to know she was okay. He crawled across the hallway, pushed open her door. Empty. Panic seized him. Emma? No answer. He stumbled to his feet, ignoring the pain, and ran for the stairs. Halfway down, he saw her. Emma stood frozen at the bottom, Mr. Buttons clutched to her chest, staring at the front door where bullets had punched through the wood. Kodiak was running toward her, shouting her name. Jamal didn't think. He just moved. He hit the stairs at a run, legs pumping, ribs on fire. He reached Emma half a second before Kodiak, wrapped his arms around her, and threw them both sideways as another volley of bullets tore through the space where they'd been standing. They crashed into the wall. Jamal took the brunt of the impact, his already injured ribs taking another beating. Stars exploded across his vision, but he held on, shielding Emma with his body. Kodiak was there a heartbeat later, scooping them both up, running for the back room. "You okay?" he shouted over the noise. "I'm fine," Emma sobbed. "I'm fine." "Jamal?" I'm good. Kodiak shoved them into the vault, the concrete room Doc had shown Jamal earlier. "Stay here. Don't open this door for anyone but me. Understand?" "Daddy,
I'll be back, I promise. He looked at Jamal. Keep her safe.
Then he was gone, steel door slamming shut behind him. Jamal and Emma sat in the dark, the sounds of war muffled but still audible through the thick walls. Emma was shaking, tears streaming down her face.
It's okay, Jamal whispered, even though it wasn't. It's gonna be okay. They're trying to kill you. Because of me. No, because of them. Because they're cowards who attack kids. Emma buried her face in Mr. Button's, her small body racked with sobs.
Jamal held her, his own fear pushed aside by the need to comfort her.
This was his fault. All of it. If he'd just walked away in that alley, none of this would be happening. But if he'd walked away, Emma would have been hurt. Maybe worse. So what was he supposed to do? Let bad things happen to good people? Or stand up and deal with the consequences? Outside the vault, the gunfire stopped. The sudden silence was almost worse than the noise. Jamal counted seconds. 10, 20, 30.
Then footsteps. Heavy boots on concrete. Someone was coming. The footsteps stopped outside the vault door. A voice, muffled but clear enough. "We know you're in there, kid. Make this easy. Come out now, nobody else has to die." Jamal's blood turned to ice. They'd gotten inside. They'd gotten past Kodiak and the others. Emma looked up at him, eyes wide with terror. The voice came again. "I'm going to count to 10, then we're coming in, and we won't be as nice as we've been." 1. Jamal looked around the small room. No weapons. No way out. 2. He had to do something. Had to protect Emma. 3. His eyes fell on the mini-fridge. Not much, but it was something. 4. He positioned himself between Emma and the door. 5. "Stay behind me," he whispered. 6. Emma pressed herself into the corner. Mr. Buttons held tight. 7. Jamal's hands balled into fists. His right hand screamed in protest, but he didn't care. 8. This was it. This was where it ended. 9. The door handle started to turn. 10. The door swung open. But the man standing there wasn't from the Iron Disciples. It was Kodiak. Blood on his face, fury in his eyes. "Come on," he said. "It's over." Jamal stared at Kodiak, trying to process. Blood streaked down from a cut above his eyebrow. His knuckles were split open, raw. But he was standing. Alive. "What happened?" Jamal managed. "They're gone. Most of them." Kodiak's voice was flat, exhausted. 2 in custody, 3 ran. We got 1 in the hospital. He stepped into the vault, crouched down to Emma's level. "You okay, baby girl?" Emma launched herself at him, wrapping her arms around his neck so tight Jamal thought she might choke him. "I was so scared. I heard the guns and I came downstairs and—" I know. Kodiak held her, one hand stroking her hair. "But you're safe now. We're all safe." "Is anyone hurt?" Jamal asked. Maverick took one in the shoulder. Doc's patching him up. Viper got grazed, but he's fine. Everyone else is bruised, but breathing. Kodiak looked at Jamal over Emma's head. "You saved her. Again." I saw her standing there and You didn't hesitate. Most people would have frozen. You moved. Kodiak's expression was unreadable. "That's twice now you put yourself between danger and my daughter." Jamal didn't know what to say to that. "Come on," Kodiak said, standing with Emma still clinging to him. "Let's get out of this box." They emerged into chaos. The main room looked like a war zone. Bullet holes peppered the walls,
Glass crunched underfoot, tables overturned. But bikers were already cleaning up, boarding windows, sweeping debris. Hammer stood near the bar, talking quietly into his phone. When he saw Kodiak, he nodded. "Cops are on their way. ETA 5 minutes." "Good. Let them come. We were defending our property."
What about the two we're holding?
"Put them in the storage room. Zip ties, nothing that'll leave marks. When the cops get here, we hand them over. Self-defense. Clean." Doc appeared from the back hallway, sleeves rolled up, hands bloody. "Maverick's stable. Bullet went through clean. He'll be sore for a while, but he'll live." "And the one we sent to the hospital?" "Critical, but breathing. Took 2 rounds center mass. If he makes it, he's going to have a long recovery."
Kodiak set Emma down gently. "Go back upstairs, honey. Back to your room. Lock the door."
But Daddy...
"Now, Emma, please." Something in his voice made her obey without further argument. She grabs Jamal's hand.
Come with me?
Jamal looked at Kodiak, who nodded permission. Upstairs, Emma's room felt like a different world. Pink and safe and untouched by the violence below. Emma climbed into bed, still clutching Mr. Buttons.
Will you stay? She asked. Just until I fall asleep?
Jamal pulled the beanbag chair close to her bed, lowered himself carefully. His ribs were screaming now, the adrenaline wearing off, leaving only pain. Yeah, I'll stay. Emma was quiet for a moment. Then,
Jamal?
Yeah?
Are you gonna leave now? Now that it's dangerous?
Your dad told me to stay.
That's not what I asked.
Jamal looked at her small face, her eyes heavy with exhaustion and fear. I made you a promise, didn't I?
You did. Then I'm not leaving.
Emma's eyes drifted closed. Within minutes, her breathing evened out, sleep finally claiming her. Jamal sat in the dark, listening to sirens approaching. Red and blue lights flickered through the window. Voices outside, official voices, authoritative voices, demanding answers. He should go down there. Should be part of whatever conversation was happening. But his body wouldn't move. The crash was hitting him all at once. The fear, the pain, the overwhelming exhaustion. The door creaked open. Doc stepped in, took one look at Jamal, and swore softly. Kid, you're white as a sheet. When's the last time you took your pain meds? Jamal tried to remember. This morning? That was 16 hours ago. Doc pulled out the pill bottle, shook 2 into his palm. Take these, now. Jamal swallowed them dry. How bad is it? 1 to 10. 9. Doc's expression tightened. Let me see. Jamal lifted his shirt. The bandage around his ribs was stained red. Fresh blood. The impact from throwing himself and Emma against the wall had reopened something. Christ. Doc grabbed supplies from Emma's bathroom, worked quickly to replace the bandage. You might have cracked one. Hard to tell without an x-ray. But you're benched. No more heroics, you hear me? I wasn't trying to be a hero. I know. That's what makes it worse. You just react. No thought for yourself. That's gonna get you killed one day. Doc finished wrapping the new bandage, sat back. But not today. Today you're alive, and that's what matters. Downstairs, Kodiak was talking to 2 uniformed officers. Jamal could hear snippets of conversation floating up through the floorboards. Armed assailants attempted to breach the property. Fired in self-defense. 2 suspects in custody, willing to cooperate with your investigation. The official voices responded, taking notes, asking follow-ups, but Jamal could hear skepticism underneath. Cops didn't trust bikers. Never had, never would. What Jamal didn't know was that one of those officers was texting someone the moment he stepped outside, sending photos of the damage, the suspects, the scene. And that someone was connected to the Iron Disciples. The information pipeline ran deeper than anyone suspected.
By morning, the disciples would know exactly how their attack had failed, and they'd be planning the next one. Doc helped Jamal to his feet. "Come on, you're sleeping in my room tonight. It's on the first floor. Easier to defend if anything else happens." "You think something else will happen?" "I think we hurt them tonight. Hurt them bad. But we didn't finish them, and wounded animals are the most dangerous kind." Doc's room was small but functional. A bed, a desk covered in medical textbooks, a closet overflowing with supplies. He pointed to the bed. "You take it. I'll crash on the couch out front."
"I can take the couch." "You got busted ribs, and you just threw yourself into a wall saving a little girl's life? You're taking the bed. Don't argue."
Jamal was too tired to argue. He collapsed onto the mattress, every muscle protesting. The sheets smelled like antiseptic and Old Spice. Clean. Safe. Doc paused at the door. "For what it's worth, kid, you did good tonight. Real good. Most men twice your age wouldn't have had the guts to do what you did." "I didn't think. I just moved."
Exactly. That's what makes it brave. Thinking comes later. Moving when it counts? That's instinct. Can't teach that. Doc flicked off the light. "Get some sleep. Tomorrow's gonna be a long day."
The door closed. Darkness wrapped around Jamal like a blanket. He could still hear activity in the main room. Voices, footsteps, the occasional burst of radio static from the cops. But it felt distant, muffled, like he was underwater. His eyes were just drifting shut when his borrowed phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Just 2 words. "Sleep tight." Jamal's blood went cold. They were still watching. Still out there. He got up, ignoring his body's protests, and went to find Kodiak. The main room had cleared out. Just Kodiak, Hammer, and 2 other bikers Jamal didn't know well. The cops were gone. Suspects removed, scene documented. What was left was just damage and exhaustion. Kodiak looked up when Jamal appeared. "You should be sleeping." "I got another text." Jamal showed him the phone. Kodiak's jaw tightened. He showed it to Hammer. "Ballsy," Hammer muttered. "Sending threats after we just handed them their asses." "It's psychological, trying to keep us off balance. Make us think they're still in control." Kodiak handed the phone back to Jamal. "Don't respond. Don't engage. They want a reaction." "How'd they get this number? This phone is brand new." "Good question." Kodiak looked at the others. "Someone's feeding them information. Could be someone watching the clubhouse. Could be someone listening to our calls. Could be." He stopped, not wanting to finish that thought in front of Jamal. But Jamal finished it anyway. "Could be someone inside." The room went quiet. "We don't know that," Hammer said carefully. "Could be lots of explanations." "But it's possible." "Yeah, it's possible." Jamal felt the ground shifting under him again. He'd thought this place was safe, thought these people were trustworthy. But if someone here was working with the disciples... "Go back to bed," Kodiak said. "We'll handle this." "How?" "By being smart, by watching, by trusting no one until we know for sure." Kodiak's eyes were hard. "And by keeping you close. Very close." Jamal returned to Doc's room, but sleep was impossible now. He lay in the dark, mind racing, trying to piece together what he knew. The video had gone viral. The disciples had responded fast. Too fast. Like they'd been waiting for an excuse. The text messages came from burner phones, but always at the right time, like someone was reporting his movements. And now this, a threat sent to a phone that shouldn't exist yet. Someone was talking. Someone close. But who? He ran through the faces he'd met. Kodiak. No way. He'd die for Emma. Doc.
Possible, but unlikely. He'd had plenty of chances to hurt Jamal if that was his goal. Maverick just took a bullet defending the clubhouse. Ammer, he'd been against Jamal staying, but that didn't make him a traitor. Viper had given up his room. Seemed genuine. Unless that was the point. Get close, earn trust, then strike. Jamal's head hurt trying to work it out. His phone buzzed again, another text from the same unknown number. "We're closer than you think." Jamal's hands shook as he read it, then reread it. Closer than you think. What did that mean? Close physically? Close emotionally? Close as in a soft knock at the door.
Jam froze.
"It's me."
Emma's voice, barely a whisper.
"Can I come in?"
Relief flooded through him.
"Yeah."
Emma slipped inside, Mr. Buttons under one arm, a blanket draped over her shoulders.
"I had a bad dream. Daddy's still talking with the others, and I didn't want to bother him, but I'm scared and—" "It's okay. You can stay here."
Emma climbed onto the bed, burrowing under the covers.
"Tell me a story?"
"I don't know any stories."
"Make one up. Anything. Just something happy."
Jamal thought hard. What happy stories did he know? His life had been short on happy. But then he remembered something his mom used to tell him, back before things got bad.
"Once there was a boy who was invisible," he started. "Nobody could see him. Nobody heard him. He was just there, but not there. And the boy was okay with that for a while because being invisible meant being safe. But then one day, he met a little girl who could see him. Really see him. And she asked him why he was hiding."
"What did the boy say?" Emma asked, voice sleepy. "He said he was hiding because the world was scary. And the little girl said the world was scary, but it was also beautiful. And if he stayed invisible, he'd miss all the beautiful parts. So the boy decided to try being visible, just for one day. And that day, he saved someone. And that someone gave him a reason to stay visible."
"Did he stay visible?"
"Yeah, he did."
"Good."
Emma's eyes were already closing.
"I like that story."
Within minutes, she was asleep, her small body curled against Jamal's side. He should move her back to her room, but he didn't have the heart. She felt safe here. And honestly, so did he. Morning came too fast. Pale light filtered through the window. Jamal woke to find Emma gone, the spot beside him cold. For a panicked second, he thought something had happened, but then he heard her voice downstairs talking to her father. He got up slowly, testing his ribs. Still hurt, but manageable. The pain meds had taken the edge off. In the bathroom, he caught sight of himself in the mirror and almost didn't recognize the reflection. His face was still bruised, yellowing now instead of purple. His split lip was healing. But his eyes looked different. Older somehow, like he'd aged years in just a few days. Downstairs, the main room had been transformed overnight. The bullet holes were patched, the glass swept up, the furniture righted. You'd never know a firefight had happened here just hours ago. Emma sat at the table, eating cereal, swinging her legs. Kodiak stood at the stove, cooking eggs and bacon. The scene was so domestic, so normal, it felt surreal. "Morning," Kodiak said, without turning around. "You sleep?"
"Some."
Emma said you told her a story.
"She asked."
"She liked it. Told me all about the invisible boy."
Kodiak plated the eggs, brought them to the table.
"Sit, eat."
Jamal sat.
Emma grinned at him around a mouthful of cereal.
"Daddy says we're having a party tonight," she announced. "A big one, with music and food and everything."
Jamal looked at Kodiak. "You're still doing that? After last night?" "Especially after last night. We show weakness now, we're done. We show strength, we draw a line."
Kodiak sipped his coffee. Besides, I want them to come back. On our terms this time. In daylight. With witnesses. You're using the party as bait.
I'm using the party to make a statement. That we don't scare. That we don't hide. That anyone under our protection stays under our protection, no matter what.
What if they bring guns again?
Then we'll be ready. But I don't think they will. Not in broad daylight with civilians around. They'll try something quieter, sneakier. Which is why I need you to trust me today. Can you do that? Jamal nodded, though he wasn't sure what he was agreeing to. After breakfast, Kodiak pulled him aside. I'm taking Emma to her friend Katie's house for the day. She's got a birthday party. Normal kid stuff. She needs normal right now.
Okay.
You're coming with us. Jamal blinked.
Why?
Because I don't trust leaving you here. Not with that text last night. Someone knows too much. Until I figure out who, you don't leave my sight. They loaded into Kodiak's truck, a big black Ford that rumbled like a sleeping dragon. Emma chattered the whole drive about Katie's party, about the games they'd play, about the cake Katie's mom was making.
Jamal watched the streets roll by, hyper-aware of every car that followed too close, every pedestrian that looked twice. Paranoia had become his default setting. Katie's house was in a nice neighborhood. Manicured lawns, two-car garages, basketball hoops, and driveways. The kind of place Jamal used to imagine living when he was younger, before reality taught him better.
A woman answered the door. Katie's mom, tall and blonde and friendly.
Emma, so glad you could make it. And you must be... She looked at Kodiak, then at Jamal, clearly not sure how to finish that sentence. This is Jamal, Emma said proudly. He's my brother. The woman's eyebrows went up, but she covered it with a smile. Well, any brother of Emma's is welcome here. Come on in, the party's in the backyard. What Kodiak didn't tell Jamal was that Katie's mom was an ER nurse.
That he'd called her last night, asked her to keep an eye on Jamal, check for signs of internal bleeding or concussion complications. The party was real, but it served a dual purpose. Get Emma somewhere safe, and get Jamal looked at by someone medical who wouldn't ask too many questions. The backyard was full of kids running and screaming and playing. Emma grabbed Jamal's hand, pulled him toward a group gathered around a piñata.
Come on, you gotta try to hit it.
I don't think, please. Jamal couldn't say no to those eyes. He took the stick, let someone blindfold him, and swung. Missed completely. The kids laughed, but it wasn't mean, just delighted. He swung again. Missed again. Third time he connected, candy exploding everywhere. The kids cheered, diving for the treats. Emma hugged his waist. You did it! For just a moment, Jamal forgot about the disciples, forgot about the threats, forgot about everything except this little girl who'd decided he mattered. Katie's mom approached with 2 glasses of lemonade.
You look like you could use a drink.
Thanks. She handed him one, kept the other for herself.
Emma talks about you a lot. Says you're very brave.
I'm not really.
That's what brave people always say.
She studied him, eyes sharp with professional assessment.
How are you feeling? Any dizziness? Nausea?
I'm okay.
Humor me. When's the last time you had a headache?
Jamal realized what was happening.
Kodiak asked you to check on me. He's worried about you. Concussions are tricky. Sometimes symptoms don't show up for days.
She pulled out a small pen light, shined it in his eyes before he could protest.
Pupils look good, equal and reactive. How's your appetite?
Fine.
Sleep?
When I can.
Pain level?
Manageable. She lowered the pen light, satisfied.
You seem okay.
But if anything changes, if you get dizzy, if you vomit, if your vision gets blurry, you tell someone immediately. Deal?
Deal.
The party continued around them. Kids played, parents supervised, everything normal and safe. Jamal found a quiet corner, sipped his lemonade, and watched. This was what childhood was supposed to look like. Laughter and cake and friends, not alleys and fists and fear. Emma deserved this, deserved every happy moment she could get. Kodiak appeared at his elbow.
You doing okay?
Yeah, this is nice.
It is. Normal. Or as close as we get.
Kodiak paused. I talked to Hammer. We're sweeping the clubhouse today, looking for bugs, cameras, anything that might explain how they're tracking us.
You really think someone planted something?
I think we've been compromised somehow. Either surveillance or a person. We'll find out which. A phone rang, not Kodiak's. The burner in Jamal's pocket. He pulled it out, checked the screen. Another text from the unknown number. Nice party, pretty kids. Be a shame if something happened. Jamal's blood turned to ice. They're here. Kodiak snatched the phone, read the message. His expression went dark. He scanned the street, the neighboring yards, the windows overlooking the backyard. Get Emma, now. We're leaving. But the party. Now, Jamal. Jamal ran to Emma, pulled her aside mid-game. We gotta go. But we just got here. I know. But your dad says we have to leave. Now. Something in his tone made Emma obey. She grabbed Mr. Buttons from where she'd left him on a chair and followed Jamal back to Kodiak. Kodiak was already making excuses to Katie's mom, something about a family emergency, so sorry, maybe next time. She looked concerned but didn't press. They piled into the truck. Kodiak drove faster than before, eyes constantly checking mirrors. Did you see anyone? Jamal asked. No, but that doesn't mean they weren't there. Kodiak's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. They're playing games, trying to scare us. Show us they can get close whenever they want. It's working. Emma sat quiet in the back seat, sensing the tension but not understanding it. Back at the clubhouse, Hammer met them at the door. We found something. He led them to the back office, pointed to a small device no bigger than a quarter, stuck to the underside of Kodiak's desk. Listening device, professional grade. Been there at least a week, maybe longer. Kodiak stared at it. Someone was in my office. In my space. Gets worse. We found 3 more. One in the main room, one in the hallway, one near the vault. How'd we miss them? Because whoever planted them knew what they were doing. These aren't cheap hardware store bugs. These are military grade. Somebody with training, with access, put these here. Jamal felt sick. Every conversation they'd had, every plan they'd made, someone had been listening. The disciples knew everything. Pull them all, Kodiak ordered. Bag them. Maybe we can trace where they came from. What none of them knew was that pulling the bugs triggered an alert, and 3 miles away, a man sat in a van, watching his monitors go dark one by one. He smiled, picked up his phone, and made a call. They found the bugs. Good, a voice responded. That means they're looking in the wrong direction. Proceed to Phase 2. The man hung up, started the van, and drove toward the clubhouse. Phase 2 didn't involve surveillance. Phase 2 involved fire. The bugs sat in evidence bags on Kodiak's desk like tiny accusations. 4 devices. 4 violations of their sanctuary. Hammer stood over them, jaw tight with barely controlled rage. Whoever planted these had access, Hammer said. Full access. Walked right in, knew exactly where to put them for maximum coverage. How long were they active? Kodiak asked. Based on the battery life, at least 2 weeks, maybe longer. 2 weeks. Jamal's stomach turned. That meant they'd heard everything.
Every conversation about him, every plan, every vulnerability.
So they knew I was coming here before I even knew, Jamal said quietly.
Kodiak looked at him.
What do you mean?
The night in the alley, when you brought me here.
That was 4 days ago. If these were here for 2 weeks, they were listening before I ever showed up.
The room went silent as everyone processed that.
He's right, Doc said from the doorway. This wasn't about the kid. This was already in motion.
Then what was it about? Viper demanded.
Kodiak's expression darkened. They were watching us, waiting for an opportunity. The video just gave them an excuse to move.
Move on what?
On us, on the club. They want territory. They want respect. They want...
Kodiak stopped, something clicking in his mind.
They want the roots. Hammer swore.
The supply runs. Jamal didn't understand. What roots?
We move cargo, Kodiak explained. Legal cargo, auto parts mostly. But the routes we use, the contacts we have, they're valuable. The disciples have been trying to break into that market for years. This whole thing with you might just be the excuse they needed to make a play.
So I'm what? Collateral damage? You're the match that lit the fuse, but the powder keg was already there. The realization should have made Jamal feel better, should have eased the guilt sitting heavy in his chest. But it didn't. Because regardless of why the disciples were moving, the fact remained that Emma had been in danger, that bullets had torn through walls where a 7-year-old slept.
What do we do? Doc asked.
We finish preparing for tonight. The party happens.
We make our statement.
Kodiak looked around the room.
And we set a trap.
What kind of trap?
The kind that draws them out, makes them think they've got an opening when really they're walking into a box.
Kodiak turned to Hammer.
Call everyone. I want full numbers tonight. 40, 50 brothers if we can get them. I want it loud. I want it visible. I want the disciples to see exactly what they're up against.
And if they still come?
Then we end this. Permanently.
What Kodiak didn't know was that the disciples weren't planning to attend the party. They were planning to burn it down. The van was already parked 2 blocks away, filled with accelerant and rage. The driver waited for full darkness, for the moment when the music was loudest and the guards were most distracted. Then he'd strike. Emma tugged on Jamal's sleeve.
Can I talk to you? Upstairs?
Jamal followed her to her room. She closed the door, sat on her bed, and patted the space beside her.
I'm scared,
she said simply. Me too.
Really? You don't seem scared.
I'm good at hiding it. Jamal sat, his ribs protesting. I've had lots of practice. Emma picked at Mr. Button's fur.
Katie's mom asked me if you were really my brother. I said yes. Was that okay?
Yeah, that was okay.
Are you, though? Really?
Jamal thought about it.
What made someone a brother?
Blood? Papers? Or was it something simpler? Like showing up when it mattered? Like standing between danger and the people you cared about? If you want me to be, he said finally. Emma's face broke into a smile.
I do. I really do.
She threw her arms around him, careful of his ribs.
I never had a brother before. I don't know how it works, but I think we're doing good so far.
Yeah, I think so too. A knock at the door. Kodiak stuck his head in.
Emma, I need to talk to Jamal for a minute. Alone.
Emma hopped off the bed, gave Jamal one more quick hug, and skipped out. Kodiak closed the door behind her, leaned against it.
I'm sending her away tonight.
What?
Doc's sister lives in Indiana, 2 hours from here. Emma's going to stay with her until this is over.
Does Emma know?
Not yet. I'll tell her after dinner. Kodiak crossed his arms. I'm giving you the same option. Jamal blinked.
What?
You can go with her.
Get out of Chicago. Be safe. No one would blame you. Hell, it's probably the smart thing to do. But you're staying. I don't have a choice. This is my club, my responsibility. And Emma's my sister. Or she wants to be. That's my responsibility.
Kodiak's expression softened.
You're 12 years old. You don't have to. I know I don't have to. But I'm not running. Not from this.
Jamal met Kodiak's eyes.
You told me debts get paid. Well, I owe you. I owe Emma.
I owe everyone here who's put themselves in danger because of me. And I pay my debts. Kodiak studied him for a long moment. You sure about this?
I'm sure.
Okay then. Kodiak pushed off the door. Gear up. We're going shopping.
Shopping?
Can't have you at a biker party looking like a lost kid. You're gonna need the right clothes.
An hour later, Jamal stood in a thrift store on the south side, trying on leather jackets. Kodiak sat in a chair, critiquing each one.
Too big. Too small.
That one makes you look like you're going to a disco. Finally, Jamal found one that fit. Black leather, worn but not falling apart, with enough room to move, but not so much it swallowed him.
That's the one, Kodiak said. How's it feel?
Jamal looked at himself in the mirror. He looked older, tougher, like someone who could stand in an alley and take hits and keep getting up.
It feels right, he said.
They bought the jacket, along with a black t-shirt and jeans that actually fit. On the way out, Kodiak stopped at a jewelry case.
Pick one, he said, pointing to a selection of rings and chains.
I don't need jewelry.
It's not jewelry. It's armor. When you look the part, you feel the part. And tonight, you need to feel strong. Jamal selected a simple silver chain. Nothing flashy. Just enough weight to remind him it was there. Kodiak paid, and they headed back to the truck.
As they drove, Kodiak said, "When I was your age, I was already in a gang. Not the Angels. Different crew. Rougher edges. I thought I was invincible. Thought nothing could touch me."
What changed?
I got touched. Got touched hard. Ended up in the hospital for 3 weeks. When I got out, my crew was gone. Scattered, arrested, dead. I was alone.
Kodiak glanced at him.
That's when I learned the difference between a gang and a family. Gangs disappear when things get hard. Family shows up.
Is that why you started the Angels?
I didn't start them, but I helped build this chapter, and I built it on one rule. We take care of our own, no matter what, no matter who's coming. We stand together or we don't stand at all.
They pulled into the clubhouse parking lot. It was already filling up, bikes everywhere, brothers arriving from all over the city answering the call. Jamal changed in Viper's room, putting on his new clothes, fastening the chain around his neck.
When he looked in the mirror, he barely recognized himself.
He looked like he belonged, like he was part of something.
Downstairs, the party was already starting. Music thumped from speakers someone had set up. Tables loaded with food lined one wall. Brothers clustered in groups, talking, laughing, drinking. But Jamal noticed the tension underneath. The way hands stayed near pockets. The way eyes constantly scanned the room and the windows. This wasn't just a party. This was a show of force.
Emma appeared at his side. "You look cool," she said, admiring his jacket.
"Thanks. Daddy says I have to leave soon, that I'm going to Aunt Linda's house."
"I know."
"I don't want to go."
"I know that too. But your dad's trying to keep you safe." Emma's eyes filled with tears.
"What if something happens while I'm gone? What if you—" She couldn't finish. Jamal crouched down to her level, ignoring the protest from his ribs. "Nothing's gonna happen. Your dad's got this. I've got this.
And when it's over,
You'll come home and everything will be okay. Promise?
Promise. Emma hugged him tight.
You better keep that promise.
I will. Doc appeared, car keys in hand. Emma, time to go. She pulled away from Jamal reluctantly.
Bye,
she whispered.
Not bye. See you soon.
Emma managed a small smile, grabbed Mr. Buttons, and followed Doc out the door. Jamal watched them leave, feeling like someone had carved out part of his chest.
Emma was safe now. That's what mattered. Even if it meant he might not see her again. Because despite his promise, despite his confidence, Jamal knew the truth. Tonight could go very wrong. And if it did, there was a good chance he wouldn't make it out. Kodiak appeared at his shoulder.
You did good with her.
She didn't want to leave.
I know, but she's safe now. That's all that matters. Kodiak handed him a bottle of water. Stay hydrated. It's going to be a long night.
As the sun set, more brothers arrived. The parking lot filled completely. Music got louder. Laughter got more forced. Everyone was waiting for something to happen. At 9 o'clock, Kodiak called for silence. The music cut. Conversations died. 50 bikers turned to face their leader.
Most of you know why we're here, Kodiak said. Some punk crew thinks they can push us around, thinks they can threaten our family, thinks they can tell us who we protect and who we don't. He paused.
They're wrong.
Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. That kid standing right there, Kodiak pointed at Jamal, took a beating to protect my daughter. Didn't know her, didn't know me, didn't know anything except she needed help, and he was the only one there. That's the kind of heart we value. That's the kind of courage we protect. So when the disciples say they want him, when they say they're coming for him, you know what I say? What? The crowd roared.
I say come and get him, because you'll have to go through every single one of us first.
The room exploded with shouts and cheers. Brothers pounded tables, stomped feet, made enough noise to wake the dead. And 2 blocks away, in a van filled with gasoline and hate, a man heard that roar and smiled. Because noise meant distraction, and distraction meant opportunity. He climbed out of the van, grabbed 2 5-gallon containers, and started walking toward the clubhouse. Inside, the party resumed, but Jamal couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. He drifted to the window, looked out at the street. Nothing. Just parked cars and empty sidewalks. But his instincts were screaming. Kodiak, he called. Kodiak was across the room, deep in conversation with Hammer. He looked up. Something's wrong, Jamal said. What do you mean? I don't know, but something... The window exploded inward, glass showered everywhere. A bottle tumbled through the opening, flames trailing from a rag stuffed in its neck. Molotov cocktail. Jamal dove sideways as the bottle hit the floor and erupted. Fire spread instantly, racing across the old wood, climbing the walls. Shouts. Chaos. Brothers scrambling for exits, for fire extinguishers, for anything. Another window shattered, another bottle, more flames. The clubhouse was burning. Kodiak was shouting orders, but Jamal couldn't hear over the roar of fire and panic. Smoke filled the room, thick and choking. He pulled his shirt over his mouth, tried to see through the haze. Someone grabbed his arm. Maverick, face streaked with soot. This way, move! They pushed toward the back door. Brothers poured out into the night, coughing, bleeding from cuts where glass had found skin. The fire department was already on the way. Jamal could hear sirens in the distance, but the building was going up fast. Outside, Jamal counted faces, looking for Kodiak, looking for anyone who might still be inside. Where's Kodiak? He shouted at Maverick. He went back in. Someone's still trapped. Jamal didn't think. He ran back toward the burning building. Kid, no! Maverick lunged for him, but missed. Jamal plunged into the smoke. Heat hit him like a wall. He could barely see, barely breathe, but he pushed forward, following instinct, following the sound of someone coughing. He found Kodiak in the back hallway, trying to pull Viper free from a fallen beam. Viper was conscious, but trapped, his leg pinned. Help me lift, Kodiak gasped. Jamal grabbed one end of the beam. His ribs screamed, his hand throbbed, but he planted his feet and pulled. The beam shifted. Kodiak dragged Viper free. Go, go, go! Kodiak shouted. They half-carried, half-dragged Viper toward the exit. Flames licked at their heels. The ceiling groaned, ready to collapse. They burst through the door just as the roof caved in behind them. All three collapsed on the grass, gasping, burned, but alive. Fire trucks roared up. Firefighters poured out, dragging hoses, shouting commands. The clubhouse was fully engulfed now, flames reaching toward the night sky. Everything they'd built, everything they'd protected, gone. Jamal lay on his back, staring up at the stars, and felt tears mixing with the soot on his face. This was his fault, all of it. If he'd never been in that alley, if he'd just walked away, none of this would have happened. Kodiak crawled over to him. You okay? Jamal couldn't speak. He just shook his head. Hey, look at me. Kodiak gripped his shoulder. You saved Viper. You saved me. We're all alive. That's what matters. But the clubhouse is wood and nails. We'll rebuild. We always rebuild. Kodiak's grip tightened. You understand what you did tonight? You ran into a burning building to save people. That's not something you can teach. That's just who you are. Paramedics arrived, checking injuries, loading people into ambulances. Viper's leg was broken, but he'd survive. A few brothers had smoke inhalation, cuts and burns across the board, but everyone made it out. As dawn broke over Chicago, the fire finally died. What was left of the clubhouse was just a smoking shell. But the brothers stood together in the parking lot, battered and exhausted, but unbroken. And standing among them, wearing a soot-stained leather jacket, was a 12-year-old boy who'd found something he didn't know he was looking for. A family. Hammer approached Kodiak, phone in hand. We got them. What? The cops picked up the guy who threw the bottles. He was bragging about it 2 blocks away, drunk and stupid. Rolled on the whole Disciples crew within an hour. Gave names, locations, everything. Kodiak's eyes hardened. Where? Their clubhouse, South Side. Cops are raiding it now. The realization settled over everyone. The Disciples had made their move, had burned the clubhouse down. But in doing so, they'd handed the Angels everything they needed to end this. By noon, news came through. 23 arrests, enough evidence to put the leadership away for years. The Iron Disciples weren't just defeated. They were done. Tyler and Brett, terrified and cooperative, gave statements about the attack in the alley, about how their cousin had pressured them, about how everything had spiraled out of control. The DA offered them deals in exchange for testimony, community service, probation, a second chance, just like Jamal had wanted. 3 weeks later, Jamal stood in front of a trailer on the outskirts of Chicago, temporary headquarters while the clubhouse was rebuilt. Behind him, Kodiak and Emma waited in the truck. The door to the trailer opened. A social worker stepped out, clipboard in hand. Jamal Williams? Yes, ma'am. I'm here to complete the home study. Mr. Reeves has applied for emergency foster placement with intent to adopt. Is that something you want? Jamal looked back at the truck. At Kodiak, who'd given him a home. At Emma, who'd decided he was worth keeping. "Yes, ma'am," he said. "That's exactly what I want." The social worker smiled. "Then let's get started." 6 months later, Jamal stood in a courtroom wearing a new suit Kodiak had bought for the occasion.
The judge reviewed the paperwork, asked the required questions, and then stamped the final document. "Congratulations," the judge said. "The adoption is finalized. Jamal Williams Reeves, welcome to your family." Emma squealed and threw her arms around Jamal. Kodiak pulled them both into a hug that lifted them off their feet. Outside the courthouse, brothers waited on their bikes. 40 of them, engines rumbling, ready to escort the newest member of their family home. Home. The word still felt foreign on Jamal's tongue, but as he climbed onto the back of Kodiak's bike, as Emma settled in front of him, as the convoy pulled out into Chicago traffic, he realized something. He'd spent most of his life being invisible, being nobody, just another kid the system forgot. But not anymore. Now he was Jamal Williams Reeves, brother to Emma, son to Kodiak, protected by the Hells Angels. And nothing in this world was going to change that. Because this city remembered two kinds of names, the ones who hurt kids and the ones who stood in front of them. Jamal had picked his side, and his side had picked him back. Forever.